The Babylonian Empire was not merely one of the great states of the ancient world. Babylon was the place where money, debt, and state authority were locked into the same system for the first time in history. Before Babylon, production existed, debt existed, and payment existed. What did not exist was a clear understanding that an economy left entirely to itself could destroy the very society that sustained it. Babylon was the first civilization to recognize that economic relations could not rely solely on custom or morality. With the Code of Hammurabi, the economy became a legal domain. Debt, interest, repayment, and obligation were no longer informal practices. They were written, defined, and enforced. This marked a decisive break from earlier Mesopotamian systems. In Sumer, debt existed, but its consequences were uncertain. In Akkad, centralized authority existed, but economic behavior remained loosely regulated. In Babylon, the economy was written into law. This is what separates Babylon from its predecessors. Babylonian money operated on two levels. In daily life, barley functioned as the primary unit of account. Wages, rents, taxes, and small loans were measured in barley because it was essential for survival, divisible, and storable. But barley was also fragile. A poor harvest meant the disappearance of money itself. Silver existed alongside barley, but it was not a circulating currency in the modern sense. It was not minted, widely distributed, or accessible to everyone. Silver functioned as a weight-based standard used in large transactions, state payments, temple accounts, and long-distance trade. Babylonian economics was therefore dual-layered: barley for everyday exchange, silver for institutional and high-value transactions. At the center of this system stood debt. In Babylon, debt was not limited to commerce. It was a condition of survival. A single failed harvest could push entire households into debt. Babylon did not ignore this reality. Instead, it confronted it directly. The laws did not eliminate debt, but they defined its limits. The Code of Hammurabi contains more provisions on debt and interest than on almost any other subject. Interest rates were fixed rather than arbitrary. Repayment terms were specified. Collateral was regulated. Most importantly, Babylonian law recognized that debt could not be enforced blindly. If production failed due to natural disaster, repayment could be postponed. This was a radical idea for its time. Economic crisis was not always personal failure, it could be systemic. The Babylonian state understood that uncontrolled debt threatened not only individuals, but the state itself. If producers collapsed under debt, production would fall. If production fell, taxes would disappear. Without taxes, the army could not be maintained. Without an army, the empire could not survive. Debt, therefore, was not merely a private issue, it was a matter of state stability. For this reason, Babylonian economics was never purely market-driven. The state intervened when necessary. Taxation followed fixed rules, but allowed exceptional measures during periods of strain. Temples and the royal palace were not only religious or political centers, they were major economic institutions. They owned land, employed labor, stored surplus, and extended credit. Written contracts formed the backbone of this system. Loans, leases, and partnerships were recorded on clay tablets. Witnesses were named. Dates were fixed. Economic trust was no longer personal. It was institutional. The Babylonian economy rested on documentation rather than reputation. Yet this strength also revealed a fundamental weakness. The system depended entirely on production. When production declined, money vanished. Barley could not circulate if harvests failed, and silver remained limited in supply. As economic pressure increased, taxation intensified, debt accumulated, and social tension grew. The decline of Babylon cannot be separated from this economic fragility. Disrupted trade routes, declining agricultural output, and the rigidity of centralized control left the system exposed. Military defeats often followed economic exhaustion. When money stopped moving, the empire followed. Many of the economic questions debated today first emerged clearly in Babylon. The balance between debt and interest, the limits of state intervention, crisis management, and financial vulnerability were not modern discoveries. They were structural problems encountered thousands of years ago. The significance of Babylon lies not in solving these problems, but in exposing them. It revealed how debt could become social pressure, how money tied to production could disappear, and where state control over the economy could fail. The debt crises, government interventions, and financial instability discussed in the modern world were all experienced within the same framework in Babylon. Babylon collapsed, but the economic logic it established remains standing today.